I'm Mark, and welcome to the Mindful Guy podcast, where we discuss everything around mental health, especially anxiety and depression. The aim of this podcast isn't to provide medical advice, as I'm not a practicing mental health specialist. I have no qualifications other than my own experience. It's dedicated to those who have suffered, are suffering, or will suffer from mental illness in the future. So, if this is of interest to you, please click the subscribe and notification buttons for more content on anxiety and depression with me, the Mindful Guy. On this episode of the Mindful Guy, we're going to cover the story behind every mental illness. That's not to say that all mental illness has a relationship with something external, like trauma, as some anxiety and depression disorders could be related to biological or genetic makeup. So for the sake of this episode, I'm going to focus more on the external factors like the environment, experience, and behaviors that you endured to lead you to this point. And there's a story behind each and every sufferer. The most important part of the story is recognizing that you have one, as most sufferers choose to ignore it because it's too painful. It requires courage and a willingness to go back into your past to face those traumas. Before we discuss this though, please watch my previous video on You Are Not Your Thoughts, as this will give you a sense of understanding and control when you decide to face your past. If you haven't seen my introduction video for the Mindful Guy podcast, I discuss openly my past and the traumas I faced. This isn't about comparing stories, but taking ownership and responsibility for the story, as most sufferers find it difficult to speak openly about their past. It's important to note that you approach your past traumas as the observer and not the victim. My suggestion is you get used to the idea and practice of observing thoughts before attempting to do this. And as the observer, you are not, I repeat, not coming from a place of judgment. Be kind to yourself. Also, you want to bear in mind that you're in a safe space, and should you need the help of a mental health practitioner to be with you, then do what feels right for you. It is commonly understood in psychological and medical circles that we're all sponges up until the age of 7 years old. Our brains take in every small and subtle aspect of our environment and the behaviors of others, and they become ingrained in our subconscious mind. Think of it as the foundation on which you build the rest of your life. It's pretty obvious that if your foundations are not solid, the chances are when life spits other challenges at you, like careers, relationships, and other things, you're probably going to make decisions based on your belief or need system. This is why most anxiety and depression sufferers feel as though things keep happening to them. I was one of those people. Remember, you're making decisions on a subconscious level and on a very questionable foundation you built in the past. So how do you begin to rewire your subconscious mind and fix the psychological foundations? Observing your thoughts without judgment is the first step. Catch yourself having negative thoughts, but don't get too caught up in them. Stand back and let the thoughts play out. In other words, surrender to the thoughts as the observer. The second step is to observe the emotions you felt in that thought. When was the first time you felt that emotion? Sit quietly and try to remember the first time this emotion bubbled up. This may take time, so no pressure to get the answer straight away. Once you've identified the first time, you are at the root of the thought. The third step is, as the observer and not the victim, how could you have dealt with it? This is where so many traumatic experiences are difficult to face because the pain is so intense. This is why writing down the emotions, thoughts, and the story behind this trauma is vitally important. You can now visually see it. It's no longer in your head, it's on black and white in front of you. If the situation you experience was out of your control, that is, you were too young or it just happened to you like an accident or something like that, I need you to remember this mantra. I cannot control what happened to me. I can only control how I react to it. I'll repeat. I cannot control what happened to me. I can only control how I react to it. This is a powerful mantra as you observe the thoughts and the emotions. They refer to this as weeding the garden. Once you have become comfortable with this practice, incorporating it with moments of mindful meditation or prayer or walks in nature with a sense of gratitude that you have faced that chapter in your story will help in the healing process. Remember, your story has been written over your lifetime, so there is no deadline or easy way to observe and fix all of it in one go. Take your time, and there is no judgment. Be kind to yourself. Let me know if this helps, and I'll see you again on the next episode of The Mindful Guy. Let me know if this helps, and I'll see you again on the next episode of The Mindful Guy. If you like what you hear and this is of interest to you, please click the subscribe and notification buttons for more content on anxiety and depression with me, The Mindful Guy.